So pendulums have got many different uses, but what I'm going to concentrate on today is just using pendulums to answer yes or no questions. So you get different types of pendulums. So this is actually the pendulum that I use for various things, for therapies, for crystal healing, and for clients. And then this is the pendulum that I use for my own personal use. And I do like to keep them separate. And it's really important that after you've used a pendulum, not so much for yourself because it'll pick up your energy and stuff, but I always cleanse my pendulum after I've used it for clients. Okay, so the first thing to remember when you're using a pendulum is when you're choosing a pendulum, just choose a pendulum that you feel like you really connect with. And they're really good for guidance. So I've always said in my lives and when I'm talking to clients, I always talk about the fact that you have all the wisdom you will ever need inside you. So you have it all, your highest in your soul, in your higher self, if you like. So any question you could ever ask, you actually have the answer to already inside you. It's just about accessing that, accessing your higher self, connecting to your higher self, and stopping long enough to get some stillness in you so that you can access that wisdom that's inside you. So all the pendulum does is it taps into your higher self. So the answers, in fact, I know a lot of people talk about sometimes pendulums being guided by angels or spirits, but really what is happening with a pendulum is that your higher self is speaking to you through the pendulum, and your higher self can speak to you in many different ways, but as humans we quite often like a visual answer to something concrete, which is where pendulums come in. So when you have something that you want to ask, some guidance that you need, it's always best to ask a question that is either yes or no. And then what you do is you program your pendulum to so that it knows yes or no. So the first thing you're going to do is decide what you want yes to look like, what you want no to look like, and what you want maybe to look like. Okay, so I always use a very simple way. So for me, if it goes back and forward like this, it's a yes. If it goes sideways like that, it's a no. And if it goes in an anti-clockwise circle like that, it's a maybe. Okay, and we do get maybe answers sometimes. So you don't have to program every single time you want to use your pendulum. You can do it just once, except if you obviously change your mind and decide you want a different thing to signify a different answer, then you would have to reprogram it. So the first time you use it, you would just say, right, this is yes, this is no, and this is maybe, or whatever it is that you choose. And then when you actually want to ask the question, what I would say actually after you've programmed it is just test it out. Test it out in a way where you ask questions that are obvious. So is my name Lee? And then watch to see what happens. And what you're going to do, I'm holding it up like this for you to see, but ideally what you want to do is have your forearm resting on a surface, whether it's a table or the arm of a chair or something like that. So not your wrist and not your hand, but your forearm, to try and keep it as still as possible. Okay, and then ask it a no question, like, let's have a look. Am I male? Okay, so you can see it's giving me a no. Just to test it out. And then when you actually want to ask whatever question it is you want to ask, what I would suggest is you find, I mean, you can do it anywhere, but it works best if you can find somewhere nice and quiet. Just spend a bit of time to quieten your mind, relax a little bit, just like you might do if you were going to meditate or something like that. So you could put on some music, some incense if you want, but you don't have to. but just try and find some quiet time, even just a couple of minutes, just to still your mind. And then you would pick up your pendulum and you would ask the question. But before you ask the question, what I always do is I say, thank you to my higher self for revealing to me what I need to know. So the instruction, I'm putting the instruction out there that I want the answer from my higher self, because sometimes your subconscious mind might take over and create the answer for you, whereas actually you want to access something higher than that, your higher self. Okay, so you would do that first, and you can do that in your mind or out loud, completely up to you. And then you would ask the question, whatever that question is. Again, resting your forearm. Try and keep your hand as still as possible, and give it time. Don't be impatient, because sometimes it might be still for a while. Just stay with it, and then all of a sudden you will see it. I'm rocking it at the moment just to show you, because I haven't asked it a question, and then it will start to rock. And sometimes what you might find is that it will very gently go in the direction of the answer, and sometimes it will be really strong like this. So if it's really strong, then it's giving you a really, really strong answer. Whereas if it's only moving quite softly and gently, then it's giving you a much softer answer, okay? So you know that if it goes like that, that is like a resounding yes. If you're going to ask it more than one question, just in between, just touch it to the palm of your hand. And that's just indicating that you've got the answer to that question. That question's done, and you're moving on to the next question. While you're doing it as well, try and have your feet flat on the ground, just to ground you. So you've got that grounding energy while you do it, which just helps to still your mind. And try really hard not to focus on the answer. So when you ask the question, again, you can ask in your mind or you can ask it out loud. Try not to put a lot of concentration onto what you think the answer is going to be or what you want the answer to be. You don't want to be influencing it in that way. You just want to put the question out there and be open to whatever answer comes your way. So detach yourself from the answer to that question and just allow it to come to you. Okay, so just a little disclaimer to this as well is I just don't want people to start using pendulums to rule their life. So not being able to make a decision without the use of a pendulum. You have the answers in you. The pendulum is only telling you what your higher self knows, okay? And it's great to be able to fall back on this in times of you know, when you just feel like you need a little bit of guidance and a little bit of support. But do not base your decisions entirely on what the pendulum is telling you, because the pendulum will tell you what is true in this moment. But that doesn't mean to say that tomorrow or the next day things might change, and that might not be the best course of action anymore. So always go with your gut, always go with your intuition. And if you find that you're starting to use your pendulum every day, and starting to consult with your pendulum every time you need to make a decision, then just stop using it for a while. Come away from it for a bit and start to try and get in touch with your intuition again, okay? Because that is the most important form of guidance that you will have.